Fox News alert: the FAA reopening portion of airspace in Montana that was suddenly closed earlier this evening to support Department of Defense activities. Joining us now, Anthony Tata. Sir, thanks so much for joining the program. What can you tell us about the posture now of the United States? We're getting word that actually there was really nothing over U.S. airspace. Does that happen often?
Well, Lawrence, I think, their party line last week that they reiterated the Chinese message that this was just a weather balloon is no longer valid. And so the administration has to communicate to the American people. We've had the one that was shot down last week over just off of South Carolina, one shot down in Alaska this morning, and then over the Yukon and Canada. Something is clearly going on. These are most likely more Chinese spy balloons. And so the administration really needs to communicate to the American people. The lack of transparency, the lack of information is really breathtaking, actually. And this is so public that the president should come on TV and talk about it to the extent that they know what's happening. And now, so the fourth one that you just referenced, who knows if they're telling the truth? Who knows if it's true that these two F-15s that scrambled out of Oregon into Montana airspace to look for the unidentified flying object. Sometimes these things are not that easy to find. And so perhaps there's still a threat out there. And, we only have to go back to World War II when Japan used balloons to firebomb the West Coast. And so it's not a new tactic that perhaps China is sending these balloons over to conduct missions that can include electronic jamming or collection or a variety of other types of missions from a payload suite that could be underneath this that a satellite can't do. We are so divided right now as a country, particularly in the information domain, that you can't even have a conversation about this without having somebody call you a Russian stooge or in the pocket of China or whatever. This is a real national security issue, and the administration needs to be very frank with the American people about what's happening.
General, I just have to dismiss the critics on that because a lot of Americans amongst all different political parties are concerned right now. But my question is, is China getting the message of strength from the country right now? Because it seems like, we shoot one down, and again, we don't know if China is responsible for this one or not. But apparently they've been doing this for a while. So is it message received, or are they going to continue to spy on this country?
Well, they're going to continue to spy, and they will continue to do that. There's no question about that. There was no message of strength from shooting down the Chinese spy balloon after it traversed every nuclear site in the Midwest and many of our sensitive military bases from Alaska all the way to South Carolina. So that's not a message of strength at all. So his State of the Union comment about Xi being scared of him did not resonate with anybody that I know. In fact, it seems that from a political, from a diplomatic, information, military, economic standpoint, we are not using any of those levers of national power to confront China. And it's beyond me that the president, or at least some senior administration official, has addressed the American people about this very real threat to the United States. And it's been, you look at Twitter, and I agree with you, you have to sort of dismiss that because you just have all the information keyboard warriors there that, they dismiss this out of hand, like, well, you got satellites, why do they need to send balloons? You've really got to take a serious look at this and why China would be sending these balloons into our airspace. And, last week when we talked, Lawrence, I talked about probing the wire. When I was a commander in Afghanistan, the Taliban would probe the wire to see how you responded. They would send some new recruits in to cut the wire of your base camp and your weapons would light up, and so they would pinpoint where your weapons were. At a strategic level, China is probing the wire to see how we respond. And, again, we're a divided nation, very politically divided. And so do we even have the will to marshal a response to China while everybody in this administration seems to be focused on Ukraine? And the number one issue, the number one responsibility of any president is the safety and security of the people at home and abroad of the United States, the citizens. And that, first and foremost, should be the president's responsibility and mission. And right now, it seems to me that it's party over country, it's division over unity. This is a perfect time to rally the country and unify the country, because we have an external threat in China that is, you cannot dismiss this as, oh, these are just some balloons. Maybe, but if we've got 3, possibly 4, that's on the scale of potentially something that China is getting ready to do. And they're collecting so that they can make better decisions about application of their military force. Why would they be collecting over Montana? Well, that's where many of our nuclear silos are, in North Dakota and so forth. And so, I mean, it's a real issue that this president needs to talk to the American people about this.
What do you want to hear from the president, General?
I want to know the truth. I want to know what these things are. Have they recovered the payload from the ocean? What have they recovered in Alaska and the Yukon? And has anybody engaged anybody from China to say, okay, what's happening here? Knock it off. Have a diplomatic response. And then from an economic standpoint, are we doing anything to apply the levers of national power to counter this threat? And I want to hear what the president and all the executive branches are doing and a whole of government response to this threat from China. That's what I, as a U.S. citizen, would like to hear. And as a former individual that performed the duties of Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, my responsibility was to make these kinds of recommendations to the president, to the Secretary of Defense, and how to respond, what the response should be. And we have to pull these levers of national power from a diplomatic, an economic, a military, and an information application perspective, so that China gets a message, going to your first question, Lawrence, and then how we are going to demonstrate strength. Yeah. If indeed that's the goal of the administration.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.